Hello and a good day. Our group is presenting about sexual harassment issue and keep on sharing and make people aware about sexual harassment. Due to that, we had already posting our awareness video to media social like Instagram and YouTube. From YouTube, we have collected 648 viewers and 288 likers, and from Instagram, we have collected 1,182 viewers and 838 likers, and a total up of these social media, we have a total of 1,822 viewers and 1,126 likers. Upon to that, we would like to thank you to our viewers and likers, and our objective is to only create awareness about sexual harassment. What is sexual harassment? Sexual harassment is any form of unwelcome sexual behavior that is offensive, humiliating, or intimidating. Most importantly, it's against the law. Being sexually harassed affects people in different ways. If you are experiencing harassment, there are many things you can do about it. Sexual harassment can include someone touching, grabbing, or making other physical contact with you without your consent, making comments to you that have a sexual meaning, or displaying rude and offensive material so that you or others can see it. So right now, we are going to share you what you need to know about sexual harassment, because we believe that it will save you one day if you encounter this kind of situation.
This slide is present a percentage of an awareness of sexual harassment between women and men. As we can see, women got 72% while men is 55%. The percentage of women who are aware of sexual harassment is higher than men. Men are less aware of the different form of sexual harassment than women, with more men recording a no level of awareness. Lack of religious education lead to sexual harassment. Lack of self-related religious upbringing causes them to be easily influenced by negative external culture. Most people involved in social symptoms do not have a deep religious and moral education. They are not afraid of sin or God's retribution for their deeds. Those involved also usually do not pray and disobey other religious orders. They argue that time in life in the world should be filled with entertainment and pleasure alone. Secondly, is lack of spiritual practice, such as performing prayers. They tend to engage in negative behavior. Usually, a lack of religious education will make a person use his emotion more than his intellectual. The perpetrators do not think about the impact that will happen to themselves and the victim. Solution: increase the spirituality. Firstly, spiritual belief and practice are vital for coping with challenging life situation and instilling pro-social ideals in their community. Some religions have encouraged the dissemination of clearer standard and objective, as well as punitive sanction with respect to many aspects of their younger followers' life, including their sexual behavior. Religion's effect is frequently viewed as deterrent, which can lead to the postponement, reduction, or even prohibition of certain activities, such as premarital teen sexual activity. Secondly is spirituality can really help people to control themselves. Religion and spirituality can help people overcome negative things, though not always, but we know that the situation of religious education can cause a spiritual awakening in human beings. In addition, healthy religious participant, religious openness, willingness to face existential problem, and intrinsic religiosity are all related to post-traumatic growth and will aid one's personal development.
Second issues are Malaysian culture that can lead people to normalize sexual harassment. There is a culture where the young need to follow the older and the man conquer the woman, shy to speak the truth. When the people turns blind eyes to the harassment, predatory behavior develops. Sexual harassment has been an issue that been brushed under the rug for far too long, from minor to adult. What makes it worse is when people keep on finding to blaming the victim for what they were, for their behavior and where they are at that time, rather than denounce for predatory behavior. What are the solutions for this problem? Are first, rule in these situations to believe the victim and give 100% support to them. Most of the victims are in trauma that can lead them to mental issue if there is no encouragement from their surrounding to fight for their right, and even worse, it can lead to suicidal thought. Victim blaming need to be stopped by all people and need to be together to combat the sexual harassment problem. The citizen and government need to be united to sweep the unwanted culture that may be treated among Malaysia. Let's see, these are the industry with the higher level of sexual harassment incident: business, trade and finance, sales and marketing, civil service, and sadly, education and teaching were involved the minor.
And I will talking about the most common form of sexual harassment in this video. There have been 4 points, which is the first is about disability harassment, refer to unfavorable treatment or harassment of employees with a physical or mental disability. Major life activities are basic component of any person's life, including walking, talking, seeing, and learning. This type of harassment can also include people with life-threatening disease such as cancer and ongoing disease like lupus and MS. The disability harassment is one of the most widespread form of harassment in the workplace. So, what does this type of everyday harassment look like? It can be over such as using slurs, making inappropriate jokes, or excluding employees from certain work-related functions, or it can be more subtle. Secondly is the age discrimination is surprisingly common and growing quickly. More than 1 in 3 people feel their age has prevented them from getting a job after turning 40. We have the power to change this by adding ageism training to our current education offerings and encouraging employees to speak up when they see or hear age-related harassment and discrimination at work. Next, the racism is everywhere, but identifying racial harassment in the workplace can be complicated. What people may call an innocent joke may be perceived as purposely demanding or even threatening to the joke's recipient. Displaying discrimination symbols on or offline, mocking a person's accent, making unwelcome comment about a person's race, telling derogatory jokes, using racial slurs, and expressing general intolerance toward any particular race group are all common displays of racial harassment. Lastly, the gender identity harassment are the categories refer to harassment that involve derogatory, offensive, or demanding remark based on a person's sexual orientation or gender identity, including transgender status. But there are key differences between 2 types of harassment which are important to understand. Gender identity refers to a person's self-identification as a man or woman as opposed to one's anatomical sex at birth.
I will continue to the next slide, which is about age when sexual harassment occurs. As we can see, Sexual harassment occurs regardless of gender, starting from the age of under 20 years until above of 55 years. Based on the graph, the amount of sexual harassment occurs for age under 20 years for female shows that 30.5%, while for the male is 9.6%. Next, for the age starting from 21 until 25 years for female, it indicates that 21.2% only and 17.3% for the male occurs. The next amount of sexual harassment occurs in both female and male for age 26 to 30 years. It shows 16.3% and 11.5% respectively. Following the age of 31 until 35 years, it proves that 10.7% sexual harassment occurs in female, while only 7.7% in male. According to the age above 55 years, the amount of sexual harassment occurs regardless of gender is getting slow. The graph shows that 5.5% in female, while there is no percent occurs in male. To be concluded, the sexual harassment occurs for both female and male is getting decreased as the age increase, especially age starting from 21 years until above 55 years. Sexual harassment also can happen to anyone regardless of sex, gender, or sexual orientation. My advice is, it is important to be aware that sexual remarks or physical conduct of sexual nature may be offensive or can make some people uncomfortable even if you wouldn't feel the same way yourself.
And I will continue the presentation in experience of sexual harassment at the workplace. Sexual harassment in the workplace refers to an verbal or physical act with a sexual nature performed in recruitment or in the workplace by a boss, manager, employee, client, or customer of working unit that is unwelcome by the person who are receiving it, and it has caused the person to feel violated, insulted, and also being in an unbearable hostile environment. The verbal or physical acts with a sexual nature include, the first one is joking or teasing with a sexual nature. Secondly, continuous invitation to dinner or date despite rejection. The third one is inquiring for sharing sexual experience. And the fourth one, spreading and displaying a nude or image with apparent sexual contents. And the last one is request for sexual intercourse. There are some research that have been made, which is 44% of people have experienced some form of workplace sexual harassment, while 79% of the victims are women and 21% were men. This means males may also be objects of sexual harassment. And for your information, sexual harassment also happens between people of the same gender. Secondly, 27% of people have experienced harassment by their colleagues, while 17% were harassed by superior, and lastly, 21% had received threats of termination if they did not comply with the request of the sexual harassers.
Throughout the presentation, sexual harassment damages the life, health, and cost of business that only legal fees but loss, productivity, morale, effectiveness, and talent. Tolerating or failing to respond to sexual harassment can block women's and other targets' economic security, access to opportunity, and advancement, which serve to preserve that the status quo and power imbalances that drive sexual harassment in the community. So the power to eradicate sexual harassment lies in the hand of individual. Whether or not you were able to change the outcome, by stepping in, you are helping change the way people think about their role in preventing sexual assault. So if you suspect that someone you know has been sexually assaulted, there are steps you can take to support the person and show you care. Your action is matter. In hope, if all parties are involved in preventing sexual harassment, it can greatly reduce the number of cases of sexual harassment, rape, depression, suicide, social problems, and more. So I think that is all from us. Thank you.